Howdy folks, Sapper here, aka Sean, and I'm bringing you Next War, World War III. This is turn 3, I believe. Again, time goes by and I get occupied with other things. Sometimes I forget exactly where I'm at, but what I always do is I always leave this clamped to my minute, so wherever I'm at tells me kind of what phase I left off at. And I really try to keep that updated as well, so that reminds me, okay, where I'm at. But sometimes the turn eludes me. But yes, now that I'm looking over at my informational display, it shows that I'm on turn 3. So I've just concluded the naval bombardment, because I believe that's where I left off on the previous video, was naval bombardment. So I did do some naval bombardment. Don't say that too quick. There was no bombardment in Korea because basically the ships, we haven't really started doing a whole lot in Korea yet. So the only bombardment that happened was here. So I used that AMF to bombard this guy. I obtained a strike 2 result. And then if you look over here, I used these 2 SAGs to put a strike 2 on the top unit here. Oh, look at that. So yeah, I put a strike 2 on that guy. So, and the only reason I thought about doing strike 1s on each guy, but the reason I put a strike 2 on the one guy is because of this situation right here. So these guys are under a clearing marker, so they cannot attack. And there is a reduced, god dang it. I'm not really a big fan of these particular forceps. I like those black ones that I have, but I have those on the Korea map. So there's not enough attack strength here to really do anything. Well, during the reinforcement reorganization phase, you turn all strike 2s. Strike 1s get removed and strike 2s turn into strike 1s. So if I put a strike 1 on each one of these guys at the end of the reorg phase, I believe it's reorg, you'll remove those strike 1s. So basically I will have done that for nothing. So the strike marker will persist into the next game turn. So, but that's under the condition that I don't do any kind of offensive and attack right here, which I'm probably not going to do because I can only do it from that hex right there. So that was the reasoning in my head for hitting 1 unit with a strike 2 as opposed to hitting 2 units with strike 1s. So there you go. You got to game the game, right? Game the system sometimes. So another thing that I was looking at was the aerial mining, and it just I didn't see. I can kind of see the value of aerial mining. I did some research on the internet for aerial mining and couldn't find anything. So I don't know what kind of aerial mining systems or aerial mining assets are actually available out there, because it was a little bit hard. When you type in aerial mining, you're basically dropping mines into the water. That's you're mining from the air, but the rules kind of imply that there are mines floating around in the air, which are kind of an airspace denial asset, and I couldn't find anything on that, so I didn't do it because it doesn't look like there's a lot of information available about what we would really do in real life in that situation. So there you have it. So we're getting ready to do first supply. So we'll go ahead and conduct that. We'll continue to move on, and then we'll probably start some initiative, move and combat stuff. All right, thanks. All right, everybody. So we have a pause over here on this side because this is a contested turn over here. So you don't do everything. For example, you don't do the initiative, move, and combat phase during a contested turn. So here's their marker. Actually, I should do that, right? There we go. So this is the Korea turn marker. So we are on the initiative, move, and combat. So let's go over here. This is taking a while because it's one of those things I want to make sure that, well, I get it done the best I can do. So you have a couple of things that you can do, different things that, arrows in your quiver, I guess, that the Koreans have, the North Koreans. So you have the tunnels. We have 8 of these, and they basically give you a -2 DRM, and then you can overstack in the hexes adjacent to them. So I want to make good use of these tunnels because you only get them on turn one, but it's kind of tough. You've got all this additional stuff too, like you've got these fortifications, these little things here. I think those are minus column shifts. You've got combat outposts, which you have to get rid of. You know, you have to attack them. So basically, they don't have any. All they have is defense. So you just have to. If you get in a reduction or a retreat result, then the outpost is gone. So a bunch of different things you got to think about. And then, of course, you have a ton of units to move. So I basically got everything down here moved. I moved, so this artillery was over this way. So I'm moving them over here to kind of support this is the eastern side, the east flank. And then I've got this group of artillery here that I'm going to kind of leave in the middle. All right, let's see what else. So I moved the 820th. They were kind of up in this area. The headquarters was way over here. So, you know, I'm trying to get them positioned. And then I've still got all these units over here yet. I'm trying to keep the formations, you know, together because it's kind of important to do that as far as supply goes. I do have a supply depot here. I've got some headquarters pushed forward. I think there's a headquarters. There we go. There's the other headquarters. So, you know, it's, you know, trying to keep all that stuff. Movement is slow. I just wanted to cover what I've gotten done so far. So, making my plans for the center and the east. And then, of course, the big fight, the big grind is going to be here around Seoul. But hopefully I'll be able to get a bunch of these units moved up. I'm saving these Marines here for a possible amphibious assault somewhere down here. Like if these guys weren't here, man, I'd be able to do a nice, good push. But this kind of complicates stuff a little bit. So again, just trying to cover this little bit so far before I forget too much. But again, we are in the initiative movement combat phase here. So Taiwan's kind of on hold. So I'll be back in a little bit. All right, I have just wrapped up the initiative movement. Man, that's a big difference compared to Taiwan. There is a lot of units, and then basically trying to keep them in their formations is also, you know, it's a juggling act, especially when you have, like, for example, these guys here. So looks like the 12th Corps. So you've got armor, you've got leg infantry, you've got motorized infantry, you've got a regular leg headquarters. So you've got mixed formation types. So, you know, obviously they have different movement allowances per. So, you know, trying to keep them together. Obviously it's easy. You just move with your slowest guy, right? Which is like painful. You want to get them to the front as quick as possible. But so by looking at it, so the plan right now, we all know plans are only as good as first contact or when you get punched in the mouth, right? And then after that, plan flies out the window. As I'm looking at it, I think the thing that I need to, at least ideally, is I need to punch a hole. Because from having played this before, I know things are going to really bog down. These waterways really just destroy any kind. They're great for the defenders. And things bog down really bad right in this area. So I think if I can punch a hole somewhere here and then kind of that way I can go that way and I can also come this way. I think that's what I'm going to attempt to do. That's the plan right now, is to try to punch a hole in the center and then just kind of flood through that hole and go to the east and go to the west and see what happens. So I've moved this, what is it, the Pyongyang Corps? I think that's what that is, right? Pyongyang Corps. I'm trying to get them this way, and then these guys here, who's that? That is the 11th, I think. Man, is that 11 or that's the 12th? God, eyes are starting to get bad. Pyongyang and the 12th are going to kind of move to fill in gaps and stuff. There's a lot of good units in here, so we'll see what happens. I've got chemical weapons if I want to use them. I don't know if I'm going to use them yet. Maybe I'll hold on to those. They reduce the enemy's efficiency ratings by 3, so that would be huge, right? But I think I'll save that for a little bit, and we'll kind of see how it goes. I've got 2 tunnels left to place. Got one here. I've got one here, and again, the tunnels give you, I think, the -2 DRM on the first turn, so probably somewhere in here. The problem is their units are all scattered all over the place, so it's not like I can really make super optimal use of them. But I remember this spot right here. It's like this little peninsula with the water. It's easy to get that, but it's difficult to get anything after that. All right, as much as, I mean, I don't want to use them. I really wish I could save them till, well, I've always got the, let me look. I think it's on game turn 1, so I still have the basic movement and combat segment that I can use them into, if it's a blanket turn 1. Let me look real quick. Yeah, it says on the first game turn of any scenario, it can only be adjacent to the border. So here's you can see barely see the yellow line. So, I've got a total of 8 of them. I only set aside 4. So I think I will go ahead and put one there. Probably good. I'll put one here. I don't know if I'm going to attack there yet, but I'll put one there. You know what? I'm going to grab. I'm going to grab 2 more. I don't know if those are a one-time use thing. So. Put one there. I think I'm good. I think I'll hold on to the other ones just in case. So there we go. That is the movement phase. Now we'll get ready to do the combat phase. Of course, that's going to take a while as well. And then can't see them. I'll save my chemical support. You can use 3 of those per turn. I have a total of 7, so maybe I'll use those when the Americans get up to the front because it'll drop their efficiency ratings by 3. Those are the ones you really got to worry about, are the Americans. So, all right, there you go. Let's carry on with the war here, with the war effort. I have just concluded the initiative combat phase. There was quite a few combats, and the North Koreans did fare very well. So, I mean, they had pretty good odds. I think they have enough units massed on the border, along with the tunnels and all that kind of stuff. It worked out very well for them. So they were able to take this hex and this hex. So that worked out well. That's what I wanted to do. They were able to take that hex, advance 1 into enemy territory, and then we've got, let's see if I can find a spot for that. So we were able to advance into that hex. Basically, that hex was almost surrounded, so these guys were able to use infantry infiltration movement. So infiltration for light infantry is automatic on turn 1, so there's no rolls or anything, so that actually benefited. It enabled us to almost surround that guy, so we definitely had a very good advantage there. Managed to take that hex right there. Let's see, what did we get? That's a decent spot. Let's see here. We're able to take that spot using these 3 guys. And I left that tunnel there. I decided to not attack it, but I'll leave the tunnel there so that way I can use it next turn if I want. And then from these 2 hexes here, I attacked that hex and was able to... I only got a 1 step reduction and a retreat. However, that unit could not retreat from that hex because if you look right here... can he retreat there? I don't... That's a good question. Can a unit retreat across a minor river? Because I had to retreat too. That's a minor river. You know what? You can move across a minor river with a penalty to movement. So we will say that he can retreat. So that would be, I don't know, is that? Yeah, that's a minor river right there. So we will go 1, 2. So we'll take that. We'll take that killing of that unit back, unfortunately. So when it's all said and done so far, it looks like the South Koreans lost 3 brigades. The combat outposts, I don't think, count for any kind of victory points. Let's look over here real quick. I'm pretty sure they don't. Air unit, airfield, town, brigade, bridge. No. City, reserve. Yeah, I didn't think that a combat outpost would count for any kind of victory points. That'd be kind of a cheesy way to get victory points. So that is it for the initiative, movement, and combat phase for the North Koreans. I think we will now go to, look at my handy dandy card here, the elite reaction movement segment. So that will be for the South Koreans, and that's efficiency 6, 7, and 8. So there's not a lot of Rock Army 6, 7, and 8s. However, we do have right down here, we've got the 2nd Infantry Division from the United States Army down there. So those guys will definitely start moving up this highway here and then deciding where we want to put them. So far, the initial successes for the North Koreans are looking pretty decent. But we'll see how... Over time, we'll see how that offensive will start to lose quite a bit of steam. But there you have it, folks. So far, doing well. And then once I get this side, the Korean side, caught up to the Taiwan side, then we'll get both of those going at the same time again. All right, folks. It is, I think, a couple of days since the last time I played. I'm not going to do the howdy, folks. You're not going to get a second intro in the same video. Let's see where I was at. So I think I was at the... You can't read that. I wish I had 3 hands. But then if I had 3 hands, I would need 4. So I did the elite movement reaction segment, which right now the only thing on the board that can do that, and that's for the Allies. So we have some Marines right here because it's 6, 7, and 8 efficiency. So we have those Marines. I'm leaving them there for the time being. Because, well, number one, you can't do sea transport or sea movement. So I would have had to leg move them, and they could have only gotten up around here somewhere. I kind of want to leave those guys in place for now so I can react to something. And then I had the 2nd Infantry Division guys. So they were down here, so they've moved up. Well, here's the headquarters and the Patriot Battery. And then there's the rest of the 2nd Infantry Division. Is anybody in there? No, those are not. 6, 7, or 8 efficiency. That happens to be the seam of my plexiglass, and the seam is always annoying because you're always going to get stuck up on it, right? So then we had exploitation movement. So the initiative player may move any ground units that are not in a ZOC. So one of the interesting things, it's little things that you pick up over time playing the game, right? So like these guys right here, They're light infantry. Light infantry ignores Ox. So I moved them, right? Because it says they can ignore Zox for movement purposes. So I moved those as part of my exploitation movement. So there was quite a bit of movement. It's really tough. It takes me a long time to figure out because the North Koreans have a lot of units. And right now you can see this humongous mess right here, right? So it's really difficult. Basically, we're trying to pour as many units in there. There's just not enough room for all of them. And I don't mean that as far as physical space on my map, but like I want to avoid overstacking them, right? So it's really hard. I want to, the the desire to just want to ram as many guys in there as you can is really strong, but you have to, think about, okay, I don't want to overstack. Okay, where am I going to need guys to fill in gaps and fill in holes in the line? Again, I'm trying to get guys this way because it's clear here, relatively speaking. This is where everything bogs down because you got these rivers and stuff. So like this unit here, the 425th, they were over here, and I'm like, do I move them into here or do I move them over to here? So it's really tough kind of deciding where things are going. So anyway, I did a little bit of movement. Again, some light infantry got a chance to move. Right here is looking very promising, so I definitely want to get this guy knocked out of the way. There's a nice juicy headquarters target right here. Let's see who else has he got with him. Yeah, there's a small armor brigade. So, yeah, it took me a while to decide where things are going to go and who's going where. Got a little bit of movement here. Move this artillery. We've got this mechanized infantry corps moving down. If I can get these guys knocked out, then that'll basically open up almost this whole side of the map. Of course, I say that now, but, I haven't really looked into see what U.S. reinforcements are coming in. All those things play into it, which is one of the things that I really like about it. So basically what I'll do is I'll straighten all these guys out, and then we can do some exploitation combat, which is going to be very limited if it happens because it's 2 column shifts left for the attacker. And then surprise is +2 to the right, so that evens out. But if you're attacking in any of these blue spots with the blue dots, you can see those are fortifications, so that's an additional 2 column shifts to the left. So I'm netting basically 2 column shifts to the left, after all that. So, but we'll get back with you and figure out if there's going to be any combats. That's the big question, if there's going to be any. So I have decided to do at least one combat. I'm going to do a combat here, and I may do this one up here because I can get 4 hexes on that guy. So I've decided, so I'm using this hex, and this hex to attack here. I'm getting 3-to-1 odds. Committed some artillery, committed some headquarters support, committed some air support. And this is crazy, right? So if you look, the salmon detection tracks are like they're pretty much non-existent. And I just rolled for advanced detection. Of course, they got detected. They weren't early detected, so no interceptors, but you still have to commit the defenders. And then I rolled on the SAM, and I get a 0 on the SAM on the 3-to-4 track, and that is an X result. So air unit loses 1 step. It's just so crazy that like your chances of hitting this guy were practically none, and they did it. So there we go. But looks like we're still going to contribute a 2 DRM to that. So it's going to work out, but I just find it head-scratchingly funny that like, oh, well, you're not going to detect this guy, and of course they detect it. So it looks like, I think that is a total -6 DRM. After all the DRM is added to that. So we're on the 9 column of the CRT. We have a tunnel, which is -2, attacking from 3 to 4 hexes, which is gives you a total of -3. We got light infantry, which gives you a total of -4. We have remainder in the odds, which gives you a total of -5. They are in it. The defenders are in a town, so that drops it down to -4. The fortification, I believe, is... The fortification gives it a... No, fortification doesn't give it anything. So we're at a -4. And now that plane contributes a -2. So we're at a -6. So on the 9 column, let's see what we get. So that's a 4. So -6, where are we at? So we are on the 9 column, because we're in rough woods. So the 9 column, and then we had a -6, that's a -2. So we are, that's terrible. Stay still. I don't sometimes this CRT just doesn't make sense to me. How can I roll that low and we still take a loss? But I think that, yeah, basically that whole hex is wiped out, but we are still going to take a step loss, which really kind of agitates me. I'd have rather had the -1, honestly. But let's see what we've got. So the attackers are going to take a loss. So lead unit was this guy right here, and I think, yep, that's a 1-step unit. So we're going to lose that. But you are going to take 1-2, so that's that. And then the command post is also a loss. The first loss has to come from the command post, but... All right, so it looks like... Let me make sure that... So that's what we've got. These guys can go back to the flown box. Flown box, that's no good anymore. And now I can move in there. I hate losing a light infantry unit like that because I see the value of them, at least in this, because you can ignore Zocs and all that kind of stuff. Oh, that was a division too. I need to look at that because I've lost some other ones. I mean, we definitely wanted this outcome here. 1. And then we'll do that. That's our advance after combat. And that's the hole that I wanted to open up. So now I basically have a hole in the line right there. So that's definitely good. And I think I'll figure out what's going to go on there. That might be my next attack, but I'll be back in a bit. All right, so I have decided to attack right here. When everything is all said and done, it's 47-8. That is taking into account this river right here and these guys being halved, but with all these units there, I'm not committing any headquarters. I'm not committing any artillery. It does get me on the 11 column. I think, let me go over the DRMs again. So it's -2 for the tunnel, -3 for the multi-hex, -4 for light infantry, -5 for the remainder. +1. Is that light infantry? So I'm at -4. And then +1 for multi-formations attacks. I think, what did I think? What did I say? -2, -3, -4, -5. So it's a -4. I'm not going to commit any air as the DPRK. The Rock's not going to commit any air either. And this is kind of why, right? The odds are so high. And really, the only thing that the Rock has is they have these 2 interceptors and they have these 3 planes. So I honestly don't think that's a really good use of my air power, at least for the initiative move and combat segment. And also, the other reason is we've got this river right here. So these guys are most likely going to get eliminated. So, dang it. So we got that river right there. Let them have that space. Let them advance that 1 hex, and you know, they're going to be attacking across the river from all of that next time. So I figured, let's just give up that ground. So what did I say? It was a -4 DRM on the 11 column. Let's see what we get. So that is a 5. That's the worst possible roll we could get. So that it turns into a 5. So that's 1 step loss and a retreat. So that's about the best possible outcome they could have gotten. We didn't have to commit any air power or air resources. We're just basically giving up that ground, which honestly I don't see that at the moment as a big deal. We still have a unit left. And we'll go there. Actually, we have to retreat 2. So we will go 1, 2. You can't go into a Zoc, so I couldn't have done that retreat anyway. Well, you might have been able to retreat across the water, but we got to go here anyway. So there we go. Let's look here. And we'll move. I really like the light infantry, being able to use those guys. That's 15 steps, or not 15 steps, but 15 attack factors to 12 there. I think Marsh, can you get... Yeah, we'll move the mechanized in there because you get an attack bonus across, but because it's across a river. All right. Ah. Stop it. There we go. Not perfect. There we go. There we go. So that's going to do it for the exploitation combat. There was only a couple advantageous spots for that. So exploitation combat segment is over. And now we will move on to the next step, which I believe is the reaction movement segment and reaction combat. So now the allies get to do something. So we'll be back in a bit. All right, so as I was just about ready to do the reaction movement, I decided I caught this spot down here that looks like another spot for an exploitation combat. So that hex right there, we've got 1 unit in there. So all boils down to 4-to-1 odds with the remainder. Ends up being on the 9 column. Basically, I had to support it with the headquarters. Unfortunately, I don't have any artillery that's close enough. So it's the finals of 9 column. I think I have a -1 overall DRM. So let's see what we get. We kind of want to roll low on this. I'm not going to support it with any air on either side. So, well, that's about the best roll we could get. So that is summer. So that's a -1 on the 9 column. So 2 and a retreat. Yeah. Turns into a -1. That's the best roll we could get. So that guy will be lost. And that hex will be taken over. Let's go ahead and put that in there. That's a VP for the town. Didn't lose any units, which is definitely good. So I think I'll move all of that goes in there. Yeah, just as I was about ready to say, hey, let's start moving the allies around, I saw that spot, and I was like, wait a minute, because these guys are going to funnel in there. And honestly, these couple of units could probably basically stop this whole thing right here. So I was like, yeah, I need to do that. So I think that's 3 points because that's a division, another 3 points. So we'll go ahead and add that. Yeah, so I thought when I was looking at these destroyed units over here, I was like, oh, they're only brigades. It's like a point, right? And then I looked and I saw that they were divisions. So that makes a huge difference. So the town is 1, and then we get another 3. Looks like the North Koreans will maintain the initiative as long as the South Koreans can't get to there too. So That was definitely, it was a good catch at the last second for myself, well, for the North Koreans. And now I think it is the reaction, movement, and combat segment. All right, so I had one more caveat as far as attacking goes before. I mean, I've started moving the South Korean forces, but I had one more caveat. I saw this one here. So I was like, yeah, that one should have been attacked. I shouldn't have let that guy go. So I used these two. These guys are nothing but armor and mechanized infantry. That guy's huge. He's a 14. Can you see that? There you go. He's a 14. And attacking infantry and rough, they get doubled. So it was like 48 to 8 or something odds. So 8 to 1 odds. Rolled nice and low, so this guy's eliminated. So now what I will do is I'll move these guys in there. This report is brought to you by Positive Coaching Alliance. Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance. Basically, by putting that control marker in there, it lets me know that the fortification has been negated. I've basically got control of that, and it's pretty much gone. So I think that's the last combat that there is actually going to be. I'll go ahead and finish up the reaction movement segment. All right, I have finished the reaction move. So let's see here. We shuffled some guys around. Moved some headquarters up. There's not really much to do. I mean, it took me a while to kind of think about the best way to do things here, even though it's only a couple units. But I was like, all right, I've only got a couple units, so how am I going to best use them? So it took me a while to think through that. Move the headquarters up so that at least they can support. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why was I counting 5? That one can support you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. He might have ran out of movement points. That's the only thing I can think of. So I'm going to leave it at that. Reposition these guys a little bit in the 1st Armor Corps. Got some of these 1st Armor Corps, these 11th Brigade. Let me see, what is this? This is the 2nd Corps, 7th Division of the 2nd Corps. Oh, that is okay, so I think that's an Army headquarters. Let me look at that. 4 X's, I think that's Army. Yeah, so that's an Army headquarters. So there we go. That is the 1st Armor Division. Or excuse me, that is the 11th Division. I moved the 2nd Infantry Division guys up. Got them up there. You know, sometimes it's not ideal. I had to move them in with some Koreans. I don't think that there is a penalty because they've been working together forever, since basically the first Korean War. They've been working together, so I don't think there's any problems working together. Let me see here. So that's the 3rd Armor. That's probably from the 3rd Army, which I don't know where that headquarters is. That one might not be. That one might not be on the board yet. I don't know. It's a little bit harder for me to recognize. Like, I'm really familiar with the Army stuff, right? So, like, you know, this is all 2nd Armor Division, or excuse me, 2nd Infantry Division. Pulled some guys back. I figured I'd give that ground up because now they're going to have to fight across the river. It's better to put that river in between us. So pulled these. What is it? The 4th Corps. The green guys are the 4th Corps. I pulled them off. Pulled them behind the river. And then I kind of I repositioned some guys over here, but basically I'm starting to make my stand along the rivers, with the exception of that spot. But that's marsh terrain, so terrible ground. But I think it's just infantry in there, which they do better in that than armor and armor and mechanized infantry. So there you have it. There is movement phase. Let me see. I don't think there was anything else really. Oh, I did some admin stuff. Knocked a stack around. So I rebased the helicopter. That's the 2nd Infantry Division helicopter. It was way down south, so I rebased them, so they're basically done. But they couldn't have reached anything anyway. And then this guy here, I think I initially had him over here, and the more I looked at it, I was like, that's probably not a really good use for that supply depot. So technically you can't move supply depots once they're in place unless you convert them into MSUs. But I'm like, you know what? Now that I'm looking at how things are turning out, that's not a very smart place to put that supply depot. So I moved them here. So that's it. So we will go ahead and look at combat opportunities. The South Koreans are probably not going to attack too many places. This looks like a good opportunity, but see, this is the problem, right? Actually, you know what? I think advance after combat is a may, because I don't want to have to. Whenever a defender's hex is vacated, the attacker, if he has any surviving units, must advance. See, that's the problem. Is like there's points in time where I don't want to advance. If I won that fight right there, I don't want to have to put guys in there. That's the problem. So, since I'm playing a defensive exercise, why would I? Sometimes advancing after combat's not always the good thing, especially with the hex-based thing, right? Because like right here, this guy's fine, but it's the moment I move them here, now they can be attacked from 3 different hex sides. So, that's one of those things. But we'll take a look at all these opportunities and figure out what the best course of action is going to be. So we'll be back. Okay, so I've put a little bit of thought into the reaction combat, and really the only place that would be kind of feasible. None of these, there'd be no way I could get the odds. They'd be 1-to-1 odds here, terrible odds here. The only place that could potentially be worth anything would be this spot right here on this guy. And I would have that river right there, which would have these guys if they attacked across it, but we're looking at, all these are 8/6s. We're looking at 24, 32. So anybody that moves in there, it's going to be 3-to-1 odds most likely. I think I'm going to be better served by playing the defensive game and just not as much as I really want, because these guys, they've got some pretty good efficiency ratings. 7 efficiencies. Yeah, 7 efficiencies right there. This guy's a 6, but all these guys are, well, that's a 7. So the U.S. units are definitely good right there. So, you know what? I think I can't get the attack factors. These guys they're great efficiency-wise, but they're just not, they're 4s. So I think I'm going to forego the attack. And we don't have the air support really to back us up either. There's only, I do have that A-10, but it's as much as I want to attack, I don't think it's going to be a good idea at this point. I think it's probably best if I just do that. Just be defensive about it. So there you have it. There is the initiative, movement, and combat phase. So now I think we go to second strike and second supply phase. Those 2 phases are, again, only going to be conducted here in Korea because it's an initiative turn. It's a contested turn in Taiwan, so we won't pick up with the full war here until we finish the strike phase and the second supply phase, which the strike phase is going to take a little bit because there's a lot of things that can do strikes with, but the supply phase will be pretty easy. So Moving right along.